What's up guys, Specstar here today, and I just learned that I could edit my webcam video on OBS and actually increase the brightness. So that's something I learned. I didn't have to do all those dark things. But now we know. So here I am, artificially brightened in the crappy lighting that is my room. How about that technology, am I right? Bluetooth. Blu-ray. It's a crazy world. Anyway, for today's video, I've got my final two battles of the first round of pools of the TTM March Madness Tournament 320 person tour. And I am trying to make it to the next stage, which I believe is top 120. Could be totally wrong. No clue. But for this video, I had two options. One, I could look over my teams and remember them. Or two, I could not look at my teams that I barely remember, and you guys could watch me struggle through this. I went with option B, so that's gonna be this video here. What am I, 2-0 plus 7, I believe. So realistically, I've got to win one of these last two games. And then the rest could potentially matter later, so it would be better to win two. Realistically, I just need to win one. So let's get to this game here. I'm going up here against my man Mio. He's got a team of Mew, Rubombi, Mega Gallade, Crocodile, Dragonite, and Magneton. And I've got myself a, believe it or not, physically defensive Meta Jam, because that is my Mega Gallade counter. And it's a great Mega Gallade counter. You know, it's about as close as you're damn well gonna get in 8mon to a Mega Gallade counter, so that's what we got there. Next up, we got a Landorus. I believe this one was a Defog Rock Polish. I could be wrong. I believe it was Defog Rock Polish because, you know, that's a set people run. Weavile, believe it's banded. Zeraora, probably also banded. Suicune, which is, I remember, physically defensive, Calm Mind, Rest. And Steelix, which is probably physically defensive. Probably. Anyway, here, he's going to lead off with Rubombi, and I'm going to lead off with Steelix. I was pretty damn sure Rubombi would be the lead. So, I imagine on Steelix, I would think it's quite likely he's sashed, and he's probably just going to want to get up his webs and get the hell out of there. I want to get up my rocks with Steelix, but I know first turn he's probably staying in, so I'd rather just get off my Gyro Ball damage on this first, and then get my rocks up after. He's going to go for webs. I'll Gyro Ball. Now he's going to switch out, I assume, and I'll get up my rocks. He actually goes for HP Fire and gets off some good damage. And here I am. This turn I switched out into Medicham, right? And the reason I switched out into Medicham is because Steelix still had value. I know if he's staying in, he's definitely clicking HP Fire. And my Medicham can chew that up and kill it with my priority Bullet Punch. So Medi's going to come in on the actually Energy Ball, which was surprising to see. And I will BP and take the thing out. So we traded hazards, and I've got a 6-5 lead here. He brings in D-Knight. I don't want to stay in on that thing. I'm going to go to my Steelix. He's going to go for Earthquake and do some clean banded damage, 100% banded, looking adamant banded in fact. I'll let the thing take me out because that means I get in my free Landorus so I can defog the webs away, which I will opt to do here. Rubombi is gone, so he is not getting them back up. He's going to bring in his Mega Gallade, and thinking he might Ice Punch, I can take Ice Punch in his Zen Headbutt, so I'll go into my Medi here, the hard counter. He goes for Swords Dance, which is a little bit scary, but not the end of the world. I'm just going to Mega Evolve, and I'm going to click Bullet Punch, imagining he'll just Zen to KO me. He instead goes for Ice Punch, which didn't KO me, so in hindsight I should have recovered, but I still think BPO was the right play with what I knew. Now I'll bring in Zero Aura, because I know it takes the thing out, and Shadow Sneak's definitely not KOing me. I got my arm all the way over there with the dog just licking it the whole time I've been recording this. Chihuahuas, eh? I'm not sure if he knows I'm locked in. He may well, but he brings in the Crocodile, which will force me out into my Lando. Knockoff isn't doing much because I'm Z-move, so here I'm actually going to go for my Rock Polish. Nope, my Earthquake Polish is what I meant to say. He gets up rocks, I'm just going to defog them away with my offensive defog Landorus, which is doing the work right now. He goes into D-Knight and then switches out. I'm actually just going to Rock Polish because I know that he is banded and he's quite probably going to be faster than me since I had no speed. I was HP and attack. So I go for my Rock Polish and that will... I can attack it after with my Stone Edge. Stone Edge, it depends on his investment in bulk, but it probably KOs him. And then after it went down, I'd much rather have a speedy Landorus against his team, which would let me... He'd probably bring out Mew next, and that would let me click my Z move on Mew. He's going to bring out Magneton, and then I'm just going to Earthquake. He goes into his Crook here to get the Intimidate off, which will put Dragonite out of range of my Stone Edge. But I believe I'm still just going to click Stone Edge here to get very significant damage off on it. He locks into Ice Punch here, which is essentially I'm going to take that as my chance to get in my Suicune set up. Not sure when there will be a better opportunity. He's going to go into Magneton, but I am getting these gains, and I am going to keep getting these gains. He goes for Toxic, but I am Rest, so that's a-okay with me. And I will just keep getting these gains as he goes into D-Knight. I know the D-Knight's banded, so I can't continue to set up on this. I'm just going to have to Scald to pick it off safely. Actually, Suicune turns out to be faster, which is interesting. I had a bit of speed on my Suicune, but not much. That D-Knight was not speedy. Not only was it adamant, it didn't have that much speed. So that was pretty significant that Kuhn was able to outspeed it. That thing will go down. If Kuhn didn't outspeed it and Outrage into Poison KO'd me, I was likely going to have to try to finish things off with my Zero Aura. Zero Aura should have got Mew in range of my Weavile's X-Scissor, and I was carrying X-Scissor because I thought Mew would almost definitely be Goldberry. Just a pretty safe assumption when the thing's facing Weavile. Anyway, I probably talked too much about that imaginary scenario. Mew's going to go for Nasty Plot as I click my Rest, which I thought was just the safest play. He's setting up, but he needs quite a bit to do enough damage. All I need is one Scald off to put it in range of my Zero Aura, which will not die to Vacuum Wave if it carries it, which it very well may. Fortunately, he's Psyshock, or he's Psychic, not Psyshock, so Suicune's going to be able to beat this thing. I'll get a nice Scald off on it, doing 65%. Clean little bit of damage. Now it's my turn to wake up, and I'm just going to click Scald again to pick this thing off and make sure that Zero Aura for sure wins. And then here comes Magneton, which I am just, again, going to Scald. That will get off the damage to, at the very least, put in range of Ice Shard and just make this as safe a finish as I can get. And I'm going to win there, moving on to 3-0 plus 10. So pretty healthy start, and then I think I'm in a place right now where if I'm not guaranteed to advance the next round, I'm almost certainly going to advance. So anyway, I got my fourth match here, and just because this match isn't 4 too much doesn't mean I'm going to pump the brakes, because I have malfunctioning brakes. Also, I already built this team before I got into a safe position, and I'm not going to rebuild the team just to hide my strats or anything like that. Anyway, I'm facing Mew here, and he has got a team consisting of Lurantis, Escavalier, Mew, Infernape, Swampert, Crobat. This team I'm going to remember less than the other one. I think Landorus was... What the hell was Landorus? It might have been Scarf. It might have been Scarf. That's my best guess. Weavile, which was also banded with X-Scissor for the Mew. Zeraora. Might have been Expert Belt, might have been banded. Suicune, which is going to be running Speedy Subcom Mind. Roserade, which is rocking. I know I got an HP Fire, and I think I had Toxic Spikes on the thing to force Defog. Also helps with Mew if he's not able to keep the Defog pressure up on me. And Steelix, which I believe was especially defensive. Might have been physically defensive, some kind of a wall set. Anyway, without further ado, let's get this show on the road. He's going to lead off with Swampert. I'm going to lead off with Zeraora and obviously get forced down to Roserade. He's going to get a crit, which, not the end of the world, but it's going to force me to synthesize here. He gets up rocks. I'm going to get up my T-Spikes here because that makes sure he has more pressure to defog these rocks away. And I have no pressure to control hazards at all. So he's going to go for Avalanche here, which is going to make me want to play with Synthesis a bit. I want to Giga Drain this thing, but I'm pretty sure, well, I'm 100% sure it's Rindo Berry. 100% sure. I'm going to Synthesis up a bit to make sure I can find a turn where I'm as safe as possible to click Giga Drain with him clicking Earthquake and not Avalanche. That's what I'm going for, trying to create an opportunity like that. So I'll be clicking Synthesis a bit. He's going to switch out to Infernape as I go for my Synthesis, which is A-okay with me. And here, I'm going to switch out into my Suicune, which is the closest thing I had to a good Nape switching. Fortunately for me, he's going to go for Fire Blast. I'm going to sub up, assuming this thing's going to be forced out. These things are almost always Scarf, which is going through my head, but he instead goes for Grass Knot. Suicune's going to get low, but as long as this thing has a sub, it's dangerous. I'm going to go for Scald here. If he wants to break my sub, he's going to get picked off by my Scald. He instead goes Swampert, which I'm not sure if it has Roar, but it's shown a lot of moves and none of them roar, so if he has Roar, he's not toxic, which means I'm just going to play around with Protects to try to get my health back, as far as I can anyway. And since Swampert's not putting too much pressure on me, I'm just going to Calm Mind. He's going to go for an Earthquake and not break my sub, which means this thing is not whittling me down at all. I am going to Protect here just to make sure I can get the thing safely in range of Scald, because I definitely want to have my substitute up while this thing's still, while that thing's gone. That way I can keep Suicune at as good of a health as is possible. Here he's going to bring in his Lurantis. Lurantis does not beat Suicune. I'm going to click Protect here. He's going to go for Leaf Storm. He's got 4 of them against Suicune, and now he's down to 3, so that thing does not beat Suicune. I'm going to keep Calm Minding up with this thing not scaring me. God, it's hot as balls in here. Anyway, he's now down to 2 Leaf Storms against Suicune with the pressure. My sub has been broken. I'm going to Protect here instead of reestablishing it. He goes for another Leaf Storm, which means he's down to 1, and he can probably only break 1 more sub unless he's also carrying Giga Drain. Here he's going to go for Leaf Storm, and I know now that he is all out of those, so that makes this thing easier to deal with. And I'm just going to instantly sub instead of playing around with Protect, because I thought he might want to switch out. He's instead going to go for Leech Life, which is not breaking my sub, so that is okay with me. I'm going to Protect up, just gain more health. Suicune looking like a threat. And here, I believe I'm just going to go for my Scald, because gaining more of my stats wasn't too important. And I wanted to make sure the thing was never attacking me without a sub, and if I did sub, my health wasn't getting too low. So here I'm going to go for another substitute, because I'm not sure if Superpower will be able to break my sub. It winds up breaking it, which unfortunate for me, but Suicune is getting me off to a 6-4 lead, even at low of health. He's going to bring in his Napier. I'm just going to protect, kind of stall out his PP, stall him to poison, and give me any chance to survive a Grass Knot. He's going to go for Grass Knot, and Suicune continues to go in as it lives on 1% health. And that is a beautiful performance by Suicune if it were to die even. But you know what? Suicune has done too much this game. I'm going to protect first, and then I am going to switch the thing out. Protect just to wear the thing down with poison a little bit. And I'm going to be saving that thing. It's done too much. I imagine he's going to go for Grass Knot again, or if he were to mix up his moves, I imagine it would have to be Psyshock, because anything that hit Weavile is not going to pick off Suicune there. So I'm going to get my Weavile in on this thing. You know what? Actually, in hindsight, I realized I made an error here. I was so convinced that this Mew was going to be Colberberry that I went right for the X-Scissor, not noticing that it took Life Orb damage, which was a mistake on my end, but you know, that's just the way things go. I'm going to go for the X-Scissor here, still get off all the damage I need to take that thing off. He's going to click Aura Sphere and take me out, but he's going to go down too. And then he is going to bring out his Crobat, I believe. Nope, his Escavalier as I bring out my Steelix. He's going to go right for a Swords Dance, which is pretty interesting and cool as I get up my rocks. But I have Roar, so this thing isn't scaring me that much. He's also going to get an Iron D, which is particularly interesting. I'm not even sure if that thing learns Baton Pass. I wonder if that's what it was trying to do. But I'm going to Roar it out. Crobat comes in, does not much for damage. I Gyro Ball, get off quite a bit of damage here. And then I believe I'm just going to Roar the thing out again because I realize I don't want to let Escavalier come in on Steelix with high health when I can't Roar it out. That's one of the very few scenarios where I could put myself in a little bit of danger. And I just want to play out the end of this as safe as possible. I'm just going to Earthquake, so he goes for Mega Horn. And we're slowly going to whittle this thing down until on this turn, Steelix is going to be able to drop it with an Earthquake. All that's left is Crobat, and that does not scare Steelix. I'm just going to click my Gyro Balls and not play around with the Gyro Earthquake 50-50s until I really have to. Just going to click Gyro Ball twice and try to pick the thing off that way. He goes for Brave Bird, continues to not do much. And my Steelix is going to be able to take the thing out with Gyro Ball. So that's going to be the game there. And I'm going to finish with that 5-0 win. I'm going to finish at 4-0 plus 15, which, you know, I am not going to complain about that. So I'm going to pull up my stats here just to keep measure of them and update you guys. My team leader from this series is Suicune with 7 KOs, 0 deaths, and it's come to all 4 games. Next up, I've got Roserade and Medicham, who have come to 3 games, and they've tied at 4 KOs. Roserade only having 1 death, Medicham having 3. Zeraora has 3 KOs and 0 deaths in 4 games it's come to. And the remaining 3 of my Pokemon all have had 2 KOs. So that's how the Pokemon have done so far. The key takeaway from this that I want you guys to have: Suicune, A, it's not 12 points ever. B, it's definitely not 12 points in 8-mon format. I mean, come on. Suicune wins games. That's your takeaway. If Suicune was 15 points, it would still get taken and it would still be a good pick. At 12, steal. And what, the 3rd round, 4th round for 12? Steal. If you're playing 8-mon and you got an 8-mon draft, get you a Suicune. So that's it for this video. Next up, it's going to be my round 2 pools, if my opponents ever stop joining me. So I want to thank you guys for watching, Have yourselves a good night.